Okay, I'm going to show you how to straighten the edge of your fabric. And there's two ways to straighten it. You can cut and tear, or if your fabric does not tear, then you have to pull a single thread. So we're going to start, these are the selvages here. This one has a lot of extra thread. This one does not have as much, but the two selvages are on top of each other. The fabric is quite wide. So I'm going to cut in 2 inches, I'm going to cut in 3 inches down. So I want you to make a long cut. I like to make the long cut because it gives you a good grip. And then, because this fabric is a little bit stiff, I'm actually going to pull one layer at a time to find out if it tears, because I don't know if it's going to tear. So, no, absolutely does not tear. So we're going to pull the thread. So again, just to show you, this fabric is too strong and cannot be torn. So where I made the cut, I can take a single thread. In this case, it's the light blue. And you're going to slide the thread, kind of like creating a gather, along the length of the fabric towards the selvage. And once you've done that, the thread will be puckered along the length, and you can take your scissors and cut on that line because it gives you a straight line to cut on. And this is a good way to straighten your fabric when it cannot be torn. So just cut carefully along that torn thread, and if you lose sight of it, just take the next one, because after a while, especially towards the end of the selvage, it really doesn't show very well. So you can see I have pulled that next thread, and I can continue now and cut all the way across. So going back to the other side, because now we have to do this side, it's the same thing. It doesn't change at all. So you can see it's puckered along that thread, and then I can cut along that thread. Having a good pair of scissors definitely helps. So if you have the scissors with a longer blade, those are actually what they call a dressmaking shear. But, you know, if you have the little Fiskars from Joann's, it's totally fine. It's gonna work. These are more expensive. These are $50 to $60 a piece. So if Fiskars is what you have, it'll work fine. Okay, so I have removed that cut edge, and now because I pulled along that thread, this cut edge is straight. So I pick it up and put the two selvages on top of each other, holding it from the fold. And when I do that, if the fabric, see where this side is short and this one's long, that means the fabric's a little bit off grain. Probably got stretched in the dyeing process or in the finishing process. So I take the one that sticks out the most. This one is short, this one sticks out farther, and I'm going to pull across the bias. So now I'm pulling diagonally across the fabric, and you pull equally from both sides. It gets a little challenging when you're working with 54-inch fabric. So I just pull forward like this, and I try to move across the fabric so that I create that triangle that you see in the front right there, that triangle. And I try to keep the size of the triangle equal on both sides. So I'm pulling all the way across the width of the fabric to get it back into realignment. So this is the second step in getting your fabric ready for cutting. So the first one, you cut the straight edge, which is these pieces over here. After you cut the straight edge, or tear, if your fabric happens to tear, you're lucky. If it doesn't tear, then you have to pull the thread like I did, which probably is a good opportunity for you to see that. And as you can see, I've moved all the way across the width of the fabric. And now I do exactly the same thing. And I put my two selvages back together, folding the fabric in half. And this process is to realign the fabric. Now you will not know if it has been properly realigned unless you put the selvages exactly together. So they can't be like almost together, they have to be exactly together. So here they are. Remember, one had the short fringe and the other one had the longer fringe. So I put the two together, and then I smooth that fold out. And when I look on the other side, the two edges are now even. So the fabric has been realigned. First it was straightened on the cut edge, and then it was realigned. Your next step would be to take the fabric, get it wet, put it in the dryer, pre-shrink. When it comes out of the dryer, press it, and you're ready to cut.